Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Centering Voices with Center on Halsted. We are here celebrating Pride Month, and we are so excited for our guest today. I'm sure that you're all very familiar with her. She has been in the game for a while and just working so hard, and I'm just so thrilled to have her here. We are here with Ginger Minj. Ginger, do you mind giving us a little introduction of you? And again, thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here. My name is Ginger Minj, and like I said 10 years ago on season 7, I am an overweight, asthmatic, chain-smoking crossdresser from Orlando, Florida. Um, I've been on 3 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. I've traveled the world. I've done some movies, done some music. I've pretty much done it all. But my favorite place to be, I always call Chicago my home away from home, but it's really more like our actual home now because we spend more time there than we do here in Orlando. So I'm excited to talk to you.
Awesome. And again, we are so happy to have you. And I know that you have some awesome projects and things happening in Chicago that we will get to in a little bit. We are celebrating Pride Month. So I want to just dive right into the importance of this month. And I want to just want to know kind of what you're maybe doing for Pride Month, celebrating, and then we can kind of continue on from there.
Yeah, and Pride Month, it's always kind of weird for I think those of us in the LGBTQIA plus community that everything suddenly gets focused on us in that one month. But we're doing all of these prideful things throughout the rest of the year as well. So it's kind of like this random spotlight that gets swung on you halfway through the year, and you're like, oh hey, I'm still over in the corner just kind of doing what I've been doing. But I'm also very grateful that, we do get more of the public eye, the mainstream eye on us, even if it is just for one month out of the year. Um, this Pride Month, I'm really excited because I got to be the head judge on the Pride episode of Chopped this year on Food Network, which kind of goes hand in hand with my book, Southern Fried Sass, which is part memoir, part tell-all, part cookbook. And it's kind of marrying both of my loves of food and drag because to me, I feel like food, like cooking, is a lot like drag. You just kind of open up the pantry, you see what tools you've got to work with, and you make something fabulous out of it. So to be able to do both of those things at once in front of the whole world in a really special episode of Chopped, I'm really excited for that.
Oh, that is exciting. I love Chopped. I can't wait to see that myself.
I love it too. I've watched it my entire life, and I also remember watching the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, all those years ago. I grew up with those guys and just as part of my life, though they were so important to me. And I've been very blessed to work with and meet almost all of them. And Ted was one of the few that I hadn't really crossed paths with. So to be able to work with him so intimately on something that he's so well known for, it was just like this really cool, surreal experience the whole time.
That's amazing. I mean, it's all come full circle. I was at your music box at the theater for your cookbook
Yeah.
talk, and the book's amazing. So it's awesome to see you kind of expanding on that with Chopped now too.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the goal, right? It's like we write the book. It's kind of like doing music. You don't write books or songs to make $1 million. You really throw your heart and your soul into these things to be able to use them as a tool to kind of reach other people and cultivate projects that you're really passionate about. So the book has been such a great jumping off point to lead to so many other things that I think are going to really reach and connect with so many other people.
Wonderful. You've already connected with so many people. And I mean, what is it's music, it's producing, it's singing, drag. It's literally all of these amazing things. If you can't tell, I followed your career for a while.
I love it. I thought that was you in the bushes.
Hiding outside of market days at your performance. Um,
There was nowhere to hide out there. No shade to be found at all except what was being thrown from the stage. That was such a cool experience. I mean, I love market days anyway, but to be able to headline on like such a cool stage, packed with so many people. I remember being in the trailer getting ready to go on, and it was pouring rain.
Yes.
And there was nobody out there. And they were like, well, we would hold, but we can't because it's going to throw the rest of the schedule off. So it's really the weather, but just go out there and have a good time. The rain just kind of went away. Everybody showed up within like a 4 or 5 minute time frame. We did the concert. It was an hour long. It was incredible. The whole live band was from Chicago. It was absolutely amazing. And then the second I got back in the trailer, the sky opened up and it poured again.
It
Like
opened
we
up for
could
you.
not have timed that better, but it was such a cool experience. And being on stage and lip syncing a song that's one way to connect with an audience. But it also feels like there's so many parameters around it because you're only working with what the artist of the song has really set for you. But when you're able to write a song and then go out there with a live band and sing it in front of a crowd that's really just kind of there to absorb it and experience it, it's a different kind of connection. And I never feel that connection more than I do in Chicago with Chicago audiences.
I mean, I know that we have a strong queer community out here.
Yeah.
We come out for our performers and our icons in the community. So it's good to hear that you feel so comfortable out here and celebrated. I know that we look forward to everything that you do out here. I feel like I can speak for the queer community in that realm.
Well, what I learned, I've spent a lot of time in Chicago most of my life. I started with Continental Plus Pageantry, which is all based out of Chicago. So before I even really got deep into the drag world, definitely before Drag Race, I was in Chicago a couple times a year, and I really got to know the community there. But it wasn't until after All Star 6. I got cast to play Alben in La Cage aux Folles, which I see you're wearing your beautiful I Am What I Am shirt. In Chicago, well, actually Skokie, if we're gonna be completely honest. And now they call me Skokie's own Ginger Minj. But it wasn't until I was there for those, 2.5 months doing that show that I started to realize that even outside of the typical queer community, the theater community in Chicago is so tight-knit and it's huge. It's vast. There's so many people, but they all take care of each other. And I'll never forget it was like a Monday night. It was like the night off for all the theaters in town. And we went to the Venus Cabaret at the Mercury Theater, which has now become our home for our Big Gay Cabaret series. And it was all of the theater companies throughout Chicago had come together to throw a benefit to support all of the displaced Chicago thespians, all of the artists who needed some money, all the other theater companies who were struggling to get by, not too long after the pandemic. They all came together to raise money for them. And that's when I went, this is what a community is. This is how you help each other and lift each other up and protect each other. It's not just about you.
Right.
And that really just drew me in. And that has me by the arm and it won't let me go because I love Chicago for that.
I mean, I think that's a perfect segue to when you talk about community and we talk about pride, the importance of one, celebrating pride all year, like you said before, but the importance of things like inclusivity and intersectionality and valuing those for pride. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about that importance for you too.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is very important. It's easy to say you should be proud of who you are. Go out there with your head held high and nothing can bring you down. I mean, that's a great philosophy, right? And I feel like if it was as easy to do as it said, then everybody would be that way. But you really do have to rely on other people across every kind of line to reach over and lift you up at some point. And I feel like you should never forget those moments where people do pick you up when you're down and carry you across the finish line. And you should keep that so far in the back of your mind that it's always there, that you remember that you have to do that for other people as well. I mean, that's what a community is. It is reaching across the lines. It is lifting each other up because we are a lot more successful together than we are individually. And I have learned that, as a queer person who has a lot of religious trauma from my my youth from growing up, who also happens to be on the spectrum and also happens to be a very artistic kind of person where, the left side of my brain certainly works differently from the right side. I've I've spent a lot of my life alone. I've spent a lot of it in solitude, just trying to figure out what my path was, what the next step was for me. And while I won't say easier, I'm going to say easier for lack of a better word because can't think of a better one. But sometimes it's easier when you are in charge of everything, but the product is never as good. And I learned that when I started relying on other people and allowing other people into my circle and into my world to lift me up, that the product was not only better, it was more special. It was something that resonated with more people because it did have a whole bunch of hands and a whole bunch of love infused into it by those other people. And so I think that's why we, not just as queer people, but just as human beings, really need to open ourselves up to the possibilities of collaboration and uplifting others instead of just worrying about ourselves.
Definitely. And I want to give a shout out to Center. We are here talking about Pride and for Center on Halsted. And, when we talk about community, it's important that we have centers like Center on Halsted who can help facilitate that community and also provide many resources that we need for the queer community as well.
Absolutely. Here in Orlando, we've got the center, which is our LGBTQIA plus resource center. But we also have the Zebra House Coalition, which is a home that brings in displaced LGBTQIA plus youth. And we've done a lot of fundraisers over the years to make sure that they have the resources they need so that they can help, the next generation of queer kids who don't really have anywhere to go right now. And I think I only bring them up because it's so important that these resources are in every town, in every state, and available to people who desperately need them. So if you're watching this and you're not in Chicago or you're not in Orlando, do a little bit of research and get involved. And most of the time, you don't even have to reach into your pocket if you don't have money. You
Mhm.
can just get your hands dirty and go and help. And that is to me the most exciting thing about a Pride Month where we do have that spotlight shown on us so brightly is that we can bring just we can bring people to those causes and make them more aware of what's going on so that they can get involved and help.
Right. You heard it here first, everybody. Reach out to your centers and try to get
Mhm.
involved in some way. Yes, money is important, but also hands on deck is also extremely important. We need all the assistance we can get. And I think, yeah, that transcends to any queer center. We need your help.
Absolutely.
And then Ginger, I'm curious if you talked a little bit about growing up and stuff. I'm curious who some of your heroes were, and kind of who inspired you to do all of these amazing things.
Well, the first drag queen I ever saw was Ursula in The Little Mermaid. It was the first movie that I saw in a movie theater in 1989. And I remember being so infatuated with this character. I didn't know why. I knew that she just seemed so familiar to me. She seemed so fabulous. And she seemed to possess a lot of the qualities that I had, being overweight, not being conventionally attractive, being a bit brassy in the things that she said, a little blunt. Um, but she also kind of owned it in a way that I never felt empowered to. And I know that's real deep for a Disney cartoon, but I was with my next door neighbor, my best friend at the time. Her name was Pammy. She had long red hair, so she was all about Ariel. And the whole time I'm just infatuated with this sea witch. And a couple years later, I stumbled upon, and I tell the story a little more in depth in the book, but I stumbled upon Pink Flamingos and I watched it. And I remember sitting there and staring and going, oh my gosh, this person in this big red gown reminds me of somebody. It reminds me of somebody. And then it hit me. She was Ursula. And then I started see I didn't put the pieces in my mind together that, Ursula was based on this person, divine.
Mhm.
And it just to me, it was like, oh my gosh, here are multiple characters that are being celebrated for the things that I'm put down for every single day. And that's what started to give me strength a little bit more and a little bit more. And it wasn't until I got out of Lake County, disassociated myself from the Southern Baptist Church, and started my own life that I started kind of playing a little bit with the things that I learned from these characters in the movies. So I would say that Divine, Ursula, John Waters were definitely big, not even inspirations to me. They were guardian angels for me
Wow.
that really kind of gave me a voice. And then I also really was obsessed with Carol Burnett and Lucille Ball because they were these gorgeous redheads who all would come out in Bob Mackie beaded gowns or like the most gorgeous evening wear you could think of, and then take a pie in the face and fall down the stairs. And that's my favorite part of comedy is like the juxtaposition between the glamour and the grotesque, you know? So if you can come out and look stunning and then take a pie to the face and then fall down the stairs on top of it, I think that you are one of the most hilarious people in the entire world. And to me, that's really smart humor too.
I mean, very grateful for those icons and those folks because they helped to birth you, and that is
Yeah, blame them.
blame them in all the right ways. Very, very happy for and very excited for like again everything that you've done for the queer community. And as we get to wrapping up here, I just wanted to give you you know, a chance. I know there's some, again, we touched on a little bit, some upcoming projects here in Chicago, and also where people can, if for some reason they're not familiar with you already, where they can find you on social media.
The easiest thing to do is just go to gingerminj.com. That's MINJ.com. Don't go to MINGE. That is a very different website. Probably still pictures of me, but it's a very different website. Um, and there's a link tree there, so you can follow me on all social media across the board. I'm really excited. I touched a little bit on the Big Gay Cabaret series that we started at the Venus Cabaret at the Mercury Theater, and the whole goal of it was to give back to Chicago. You know, I have fallen so in love with the city, and I've seen how supportive they are of one another, particularly in the queer community. So I wanted to start a series that celebrated all things queer in Chicago. So we do have some Chicago acts that come in, but I also wanted to bring in queer acts from around the country, hopefully eventually from around the world, that Chicago audiences may not necessarily typically get a chance to see. So this month in June, we've got Danny Franzese, the original Damien from Mean Girls, celebrating the what is it the 25th anniversary or the 30th?
Gosh, I don't know. Don't age me
Or
more
the
than
20th? I'm gonna say no, it's the 20th. It was 2000. Yeah, so the 20th anniversary. I was like, don't let me. So he's going to be doing a show that celebrates that. He's a brilliant stand-up comedian. He's so funny. He's become a very dear friend of ours. And then we just signed a contract. This is breaking news. We actually are bringing in Leah Delaria from Broadway, from Orange is the New Black. You know, you know them, you love them, you've seen them, but if you haven't seen them singing live on stage, then you are in for a real treat. And then we also have Honey West and Alexandra Billings, who have been best friends for decades and decades. They're coming together to do their first cabaret show as a duo act. We put tickets on sale. All performances sold out in 2 days. And
Wow,
I mean, that's just the impact that
that's
these two
amazing.
incredible people have in Chicago. So, all I'm doing is telling you these tickets go fast. Make sure you get them and then come and see the whole series because we've really taken a lot of time and care in the way that we've selected all of these acts. We're trying to give you a little bit of everything.
You have so many things going on, Ginger. Thank you for squeezing us in. We are grateful for your time here at Center on Halsted. And just if you are looking to find out more information about us, you can find us at www.centeronhalsted.org or on Instagram at center_on_Halsted. Ginger, do you got any last words for us to before we
Yeah.
there?
I love you, Chicago. Thanks for making me a part of your family. I always feel the love. And make sure you get my book. It's available at all fine retailers, including Amazon.com. It'll bring it right to your house. And every time I'm in Chicago, I stop into Four-Sided
Right.
and I sign all the copies. So if you get yourself over to Four-Sided in Chicago, you can get an autographed copy.
Awesome. Thank you, Ginger. Happy Pride, everybody. And this has been Center on Halsted, Centering Voices.